Why is she not dead, Ibrahim? I thought you said you took care of it.
I don't know what happened, Aisha, but your sister has a stubborn spirit.
Why does she survive every time we try to kill her? I'm tired. I need that company now.
Relax, I'm sure she can't hear us, but lower your voice.
How did you find her then? I hate this dam. Why can't she just die?
She came in by herself. Come, let's allow her to sleep.
If you're watching this video, please like, subscribe to the channel, and tell me in the comments where you're watching my folktale story from. I want to know how far it has traveled. It was past midnight. The house was completely dark and quiet. Zainab lay in bed with her eyes closed, still as a stone. But she was not sleeping. She was listening. For the first time in 2 years, she could hear everything. The voices coming from the next room were low and careful, like people who believed they could not be heard. One voice belonged to her husband. The other belonged to her sister. She has to die before anyone finds out, Ibrahim said. Aisha replied, "We tried once and she survived. This time we cannot make any mistakes." Zainab did not move. She did not breathe loudly. She lay there in the dark with her heart pounding and her hands cold beneath the blanket. The two people she trusted most in the world were planning to kill her. Not long before that night, Zainab was known as one of the kindest women in the city. She had built her late father's small trading business into a successful company with over 40 employees. People respected her. People trusted her. Then, 2 years ago, a car accident changed everything. The doctors said the impact damaged her hearing completely. She woke up in a hospital bed to a world of total silence. Ibrahim, her husband of 3 years, sat by her bed and held her hand. He said,
"I am not going anywhere. I will take care of you."
Her younger sister Aisha moved into their home to help. Everyone around Zainab called it love. Everyone called it family loyalty. Zainab believed them. She lived each day in that beautiful, quiet mansion, depending on two people who smiled at her face while hiding things behind her back. She had no idea what was really happening in her own home. The morning her hearing returned, Zainab had no warning. She woke up before sunrise. The room was dark, and she heard something she had not heard in 2 years. Rain. The soft, steady sound of rain hitting the window. She sat up slowly. She pressed her hands against her ears and then took them away. The sound was still there. Her heart raced. She could hear. She wanted to scream. She wanted to run to Ibrahim and grab his hands and tell him the news. She wanted to call her sister. But something stopped her, a feeling she could not name. She lay back down and decided to wait just one day. She would surprise them both at dinner that evening. She imagined Ibrahim's face when she told him. She smiled in the dark. She did not know yet that waiting one day would save her life, because what she was about to hear in that house would destroy everything she believed. By late morning, Zainab had already heard enough to make her hands shake. Ibrahim was in his study on a phone call. He did not close the door properly because he believed she could not hear. She stood in the hallway and listened.
The board meeting is next week. If she signs before then, the shares transfer to me automatically. No, she trusts me completely. She will sign whatever I put in front of her. Aisha will handle the rest.
Zainab walked back to the bedroom slowly, each step careful and quiet. She sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the floor. She thought about all the documents Ibrahim had asked her to sign over the past year. Business restructuring, he had called it, protecting her assets in case her health got worse. She had signed all of them without reading carefully. She trusted him. She was beginning to understand that trust had cost her more than she knew. That evening, the three of them sat together at the dinner table. Ibrahim set Zainab's bowl in front of her and smiled. Aisha sat directly across and spoke slowly, exaggerating her mouth movement the way she always did.
We made your favorite. Eat while it is hot.
Then Ibrahim leaned toward Aisha casually, as if Zainab was not sitting right there.
Did you add enough?
Yes, she won't taste it.
And what about the timing?
By morning, maybe sooner, she will be gone.
They spoke like two people discussing weather, like Zainab was a piece of furniture at the end of the table. Zainab lifted her spoon. She looked at the soup. She smiled at both of them and nodded slowly. Then, when Ibrahim turned to refill his glass and Aisha checked her phone, she quietly switched her bowl with the empty serving dish behind her plate. She ate bread instead. She smiled through the whole meal. They smiled back. None of them knew what the other was really doing. The next morning, Zainab acted as she always did. She came downstairs slowly. She smiled at Ibrahim over breakfast. She accepted the glass of orange juice Aisha placed in front of her and waited until no one was looking before she poured it away. She was learning to be careful. Over the next 2 days, she listened to everything. She learned that Ibrahim had borrowed 9 million naira from a dangerous man. He had used her company's name to secure the debt. The lender had already sent warnings. If the money was not returned, things would get very bad. She learned that Aisha and Ibrahim had been together since before the accident. She learned that the accident itself had not been fully an accident. She sat with all of this knowledge alone in her bedroom at night and felt the full weight of it pressed down on her chest. The man she married had never loved her. The sister she protected her whole life had been betraying her the entire time. On Friday morning, all three of them sat in the sitting room. Ibrahim was reading a newspaper. Aisha was painting her nails. Zainab sat between them, pretending to watch television. Ibrahim spoke without looking up.
How many days until the board meeting?
7.
And the shares transfer the moment she signs the last form?
Yes, everything moves to you automatic. She already signed most of it.
Good, once that is done, we have no more problems.
Zainab sat perfectly still between them. Her hands were folded in her lap. Her face was calm. On the television, a woman in a drama was crying loudly. Ibrahim glanced at Zainab and smiled. "Are you enjoying your show?" he asked slowly, exaggerating his mouth movements. Zainab nodded and smiled back. Ibrahim returned to his newspaper. Aisha blew on her nails again. None of them spoke for the next 10 minutes. But only one person in that room was paying attention to every word. Zainab began moving through the house differently. She still pretended to be deaf. She still read lips and nodded at the right times. But now her eyes were open in a way they had never been before. She noticed that Ibrahim's phone always faced down on the table. She noticed that Aisha took long phone calls in the garden, standing in the far corner where she thought no one could see. One afternoon, she stood near the kitchen and listened as Ibrahim spoke quietly on his second phone.
She has not reacted to anything. Whatever you gave Aisha is slow. It needs to be faster. I need it done within the week.
Zainab walked back to her room and sat at her dressing table. She looked at herself in the mirror for a long time. The woman looking back at her was not the same woman who had smiled about hearing rain. That woman had woken up, and she was not going to be a victim. On Sunday morning, Zainab was sitting at the kitchen table when Ibrahim and Aisha walked in. They did not ask her to leave. Why would they? Ibrahim poured himself coffee. Aisha leaned against the counter. They spoke the way people speak when they are completely alone,
The man arrives Thursday. I have given him the gate code. Tell the housekeeper to take the day off.
And after he finishes,
She was dizzy, lost her balance on the stairs. Everyone knows she has been unwell.
and the company?
Transfer completes Friday. The lawyer confirmed it.
Zainab sat with both hands around her cup of tea. She looked out the window. She could see the garden outside. A bird was sitting on the fence post. She's looking outside again, Aisha said. She cannot hear anything. Ibrahim glanced over. Zainab did not turn around. Thursday, no mistakes this time. The bird flew away. Zainab kept watching the empty fence post and counted the days she had left.
Monday morning, Zainab did something she had not done in 2 years. She called someone. From a phone she had quietly charged in her wardrobe, using an old number Ibrahim did not know about, she called her father's most trusted lawyer, Mr. Haruna. She could not speak above a whisper. She sat in the bathroom with the tap running and told him everything in short, careful sentences. Mr. Haruna listened without interrupting. When she finished, he said only one thing. Do not let them know you can hear. I will handle the rest. She also called a cousin who worked in law enforcement. She said enough to put him on alert without revealing that she was acting immediately. Then she put the phone back in the wardrobe and went downstairs for breakfast. She smiled at Ibrahim. She accepted the cup of tea Aisha made, thanked her with a nod, and waited until Aisha turned away. Then she poured it down the side of her chair. Tuesday and Wednesday passed quietly. Zainab moved through those days with a calmness that surprised even herself. She watched Ibrahim practice his sad face in the mirror when he thought she could not see. She watched Aisha send long messages on her phone and quickly hide the screen whenever Zainab walked past. She had already recorded 3 conversations using the small device Mr. Haruna sent to the house, hidden inside a delivery package. She had photographed the transfer documents Ibrahim kept in his private drawer, the same documents he believed she had signed without understanding. She had written down every name, every date, every amount. By Wednesday evening, she had what she needed. She sent everything to Mr. Haruna in a sealed envelope through a driver she trusted completely. Then, she called the company secretary and requested an emergency board meeting for Friday morning. She gave no reason. She only said it was urgent and that all board members must attend. Thursday was coming, but she was ready. Thursday arrived. Ibrahim left the house early. He said he had a meeting. He kissed her forehead at the door and told her to rest. Aisha brought breakfast and fussed over her for 20 minutes before leaving the room. By noon, the house was quiet. Zainab heard a car stop outside the gate at 2 in the afternoon. She heard voices at the security post. The driver she trusted had followed her instructions. The gate did not open. At 3 o'clock, she heard Ibrahim call Aisha in a panic. He couldn't get in. What happened to the security? I don't know. What do you want me to do? Go there yourself. Zainab sat in the garden reading a book. From where she sat, she looked perfectly calm. Inside, her hands were steady because she had already made her choice. Tomorrow morning, she would walk into that boardroom and everything would change.
The boardroom was full by 9 on Friday. Board members, senior managers, the company secretary, 2 lawyers, and a representative from the Financial Crimes Unit, whom Mr. Haruna had arranged quietly. Ibrahim arrived in a dark suit, looking calm and important. He saw Zainab sitting at the head of the table and smiled. He leaned down and patted her shoulder. You should not tire yourself, he said slowly, exaggerating his mouth movements the way he always did. Zainab looked up at him. Then she spoke. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming. The room went completely still. Ibrahim froze. His hand was still on her shoulder. Zainab looked around the table. I want to begin by telling you all something important. My hearing returned 3 weeks ago. I have been quiet about it for a reason. She looked at Ibrahim. His face had gone pale. I am ready to share that reason now. The board members leaned forward. Ibrahim took his hand from her shoulder and stepped back slowly. Zainab spoke for 20 minutes without stopping. She described the transfer document and how they had been quietly restructured to give Ibrahim control of her shares. She described the gambling debt and the company funds that had been used to make quiet payments. She named figures, dates, and account numbers. Mr. Haruna's team distributed printed copies of the evidence to every board member. Then, she pressed a button on the small device on the table. Ibrahim's voice filled the room. She is deaf. She is helpless. Everyone already pities her. Then Aisha's voice. And after. An accident, same as the first time. The room was completely still. One board member slowly pushed his printed copy away from himself as if he did not want to be associated with it. Ibrahim opened his mouth. He closed it again. He looked around the table for a friendly face. He found none. The financial crimes representative stood up and placed a document on the table in front of Ibrahim. "You will need to come with us," he said. Aisha was still at home when the police arrived. She came to the door in her dressing gown, expecting Ibrahim. She found 2 officers and a woman from the Financial Investigations Unit.
Are you Aisha Danjuma?
Yes, that is me. You are under arrest.
Later that day, both were taken in for questioning. The man hired for Thursday was traced through his phone records. The debt lender who had accepted company funds gave a full statement when he realized cooperation was his only way out. By evening, the story was spreading. Not in whispers this time, in headlines. People who had seen Zainab at company events, who had watched her move through rooms in silence, who had pitied her and spoken slowly to her as though she barely understood anything, were now reading about everything she had quietly survived and quietly dismantled. Zainab sat in her living room that night. The house was quiet in a completely different way. The silence around her was not the silence of helplessness. It was the silence of a woman who had finally taken her life back. 2 months later, Zainab stood in the same boardroom. The faces around the table were different now. New board members, loyal managers, people who had worked for her father and remembered where the company had started. She had restructured everything. Ibrahim's case was still moving through the courts. The evidence was too detailed to argue against.
Aisha had sent 1 letter. 3 lines, no return address. Zainab read it once and put it away without replying.
At the end of the meeting, the company secretary said something that stayed with her. "Your father always said the smartest thing a leader can do is know when to listen." Zainab smiled. She looked out the window at the city her father had loved. She had been made to feel helpless for 2 years. She had survived poison, and planned accident, and a plot built by the 2 people closest to her. And she had won. Not by shouting, not by revenge, but by listening. Sometimes, the most powerful thing a person can do is stay quiet enough to hear the truth. If this story moved you, share it. Someone in your life needs to hear it and learn from it today. Like, comment, subscribe, and remember to share love and light as you navigate life.